All right, with that aside, we'll turn it over to West Coast Conference Commissioner Stu Jackson.
Okay, thanks a lot, Doug, and welcome to all of you. Appreciate you spending some time here with us. This has obviously so far been a great tournament, and I just have been so impressed with the level of competitiveness. The teams have already produced what I think are some very exciting moments, and the upsets are just a reminder of the madness of March. This tournament for us really exemplifies the commitment of the WCC staff and the Orleans staff. Their commitment to producing a gold standard event for the players, the coaches, the referees, and administrators. So I'm very thankful about that. Personally, I'm also grateful in this conference to get the opportunity to work with the athletic directors as well as the presidents, who are very passionate and committed to providing our student athletes with quality experiences across all of our championships. There's a lot to love about this conference. We are a strong Western region-based conference, but our success historically has been national. Over the past couple years, we have had nationally ranked teams in more than half of our sports. We've received multiple bids with teams advancing deep into their respective tournaments in men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, men's golf, cross country, and men's and women's tennis. We also have a growing list, as you know, of All-Americans across all of those sports. Our schools and our conference continue to prioritize the success of Olympic sports amidst the landscape that includes the pending House settlement approval and the future of student-athlete revenue sharing, in addition to our priority focus, which is basketball. Which is a great segue into talking about our women's basketball teams. What an exciting tournament we've had so far. They've earned multiple bids to the NCAA tournament the last 5 years and 8 of the last 10. This season, the men's teams, fueled by our overall strength, have had an extraordinary non-conference and conference season, finishing one of 4 conferences nationally with multiple teams in the top 20 in net, which is the NCAA metric, along with the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12. Only 4 conferences. Like our women, the men also have had multiple invitations to the tournament in the last 5 years. As of today, it does appear that we will have a minimum of 2 teams, being St. Mary's and Gonzaga, invited to this year's NCAA tournament, and likely with favorable seeds, which again will set us up for more national success and recognition. And if that's not enough, in this conference of very good coaches who are acclaimed in their own right and well known, and we have 2 of the best, in Randy Bennett and Mark Few, who are recognized nationally as 2 of the best that have ever done it. Both are now among the top 10 in active coaches with the highest winning percentage, and both with 500-plus wins. The bottom line is the national level of performance in all of our sports is really the WCC brand. And you have to think that it's part of the reason why Oregon State and Washington State chose this conference to compete during their transition years. In return, they've helped us competitively across 12 sports, particularly adding to our basketball strength, which resulted this year in 24 Quad 1 and Quad 2 opportunities within our conference, which has never happened. Our basketball future is bright as our current members continue to step up their game, as well as investing in capital projects across the conference that will hopefully enhance our basketball future. Pepperdine is going to open a new basketball arena late in 2026. University of San Diego has a new practice facility opening in April. San Francisco recently opened a new practice facility just this past season. and there are planned renovations at LMU. So that's a real positive. Just one word, a little bit about the arenas. We're about the arena here. We're in our 17th year here at the Orleans, and both the Orleans Arena and Las Vegas events have been great partners for us and provide a great setting for our national audience on ESPN. We are happy to announce that we will be back here next year. I want to thank the Vice President and General Manager of Boyd Gaming, Christopher Joy, and the Executive Director of the Orleans Arena, Ian Seidenberg, for all of their support. Lastly, as we look forward to the West Coast Conference and our future, we see real value in the national recognition of our brand and telling our story, which we have to do a better job of. Telling the success is part of our story as well as our history. We're grateful in recent months to see the increasing number of former student athletes helping us elevate and enhance our brand with their own voice. People like, Jalen Williams, Steve Nash, Bill Cartwright, and Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns. So our story continues to evolve, it continues to grow, and as we go forward, for us, it's all gas and no brakes. So with that, I will close and take any questions that you have. Yes.
Go ahead over there.
Alan Snell with LVSportsBiz.com here in Las Vegas. Stu, can you talk a little about why you like Las Vegas and what kind of advantages it brings to the conference to have the tournament? You said you'll be coming next year. Why Las Vegas?
Well, a number of reasons. One is, over the past 15 years, my own personal view is that Las Vegas, in some respects, has become a hub for the game of basketball. And, what better place to be for the WCC, which is a basketball-centric conference, than here in Las Vegas. But more importantly, it's a place that our fans want to come. It's become an annual event in many of their households. It's a trek that they make here to Las Vegas to be a part of the WCC tournament. And it just makes good sense for us, given the fact that the basketball spotlight historically has been on the city of Las Vegas, and our fans love to be here.
Again, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic over to you. Right here. Right here.
Hi, Stu. Steve Karp with the Sporting Tribune. Could you just clarify the terms for, is it just a one-year extension with the Orleans and Las Vegas events, or is it a multi-year extension?
It's a one-year extension, and beyond that, we'll continue to talk with, the Orleans Arena, as well as, go through discovery and discussions with potentially other arenas. But I can tell you we're very happy here.
And just to follow up, Oregon State, Washington State, you say have been a positive part of the league. When they leave along with Gonzaga, who takes their place? Have you been in ongoing discussions to try to fill those spots in your league?
Yeah, those discussions are only ongoing every day. It's no secret that in this collegiate landscape and realignment, it's like a food chain. As one conference lose a member or a few, that conference, it's incumbent upon them, they have to go get new members, and we're no different. Certainly we've said publicly before that our presidents are committed to continue to expand this conference upwards to an additional 1 or 3 members. There's no timetable on that. But we're committed to doing so.
Hey, Stu, Rocco Miller, bracketshere.org. It's going to be your first time on the selection committee. I believe you'll have to leave Wednesday morning.
Actually, tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. First of all, what are you learning so far in the process? I believe you guys have met a few times, and Second of all, with 7 members being from non-power conferences and 5 from power conferences, do you feel like that gives the little guys a little bit more of a chance to get in this year?
You know, first of all, to address the first part of your question, I was a little naive, right? You know, in joining the committee. I was extremely honored and excited to be a part of the committee, but I had no idea of the scope of responsibility of the men's basketball committee. I think, you know, the common fan looks at it as the selection committee. It's so much more than that. I'm dating back to my initial meetings last summer, and as part of the first meeting, we're listening to bids of cities, you know, with dignitaries in a room, you know, making their pitch on why they should get the Final Four. You know, a governor showed up, you know, mayors showed up, council members showed up, and it was a little bit of an eye-opener for me personally. But they also are responsible for everything involving the tournament and the Final Four, and that includes, you know, the budget. You know, obviously expansions, you know, is a topic. It includes everything down to the nuts and bolts involving game entertainment, and I just wasn't aware of the scope. The second piece of that is the other thing I've learned is just how adept the NCAA staff is at running this basketball tournament, and particularly the selection process. They've done it so many times. They're so good at it. There's such a breadth of data and information, much of which can be overwhelming at a time. Just had no idea. The composition of the committee, as you mentioned, 7 and 12, I would say just being in the room and having gone through a simulation of how selections are made, there's really no weight given one way or the other to power conferences or non-power conferences. It really does come down to the teams, how much game you have, what your resume looks like, who you play, where you played them, and how you did. And there's a great deal of integrity in that room in making those decisions and casting your vote, that in the end, I do think, I see why they've historically have always come out, you know, with a very good feel. You know, you're going to have exceptions here and there, or anomalies here and there, but they know what they're doing. And I'm just happy and feel blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks. Just a quick follow-up question for you. Can you comment on which leagues you're responsible for representing in the room?
Yeah, I guess I can, because somewhere along the line it's probably been public. Each member is given, you know, responsibility for 5 or 6 conferences. My 3 primary conferences are the American Athletic, the Big Sky, and OVC. My secondary conferences are the ACC, CAA, and Horizon.
Again, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic over to you. Go ahead in the front.
Yeah, Jeff Ferrato with the West Coast Conference. Stu, besides continuing to look at expansion and adding schools to the conference, what are your priorities for the next year or two?
Obviously, you touched on one. I feel really strongly that, and I'm going to go back to the future here, when I was in this room 2 years ago. And I said at the time, I felt that one of the characteristics of this conference that made it so special was the historic success that they've had in Olympic sports. And I felt that if we could continue to develop and grow the basketballs, that this conference truly could be special. And I still believe that today. But shame on us. We just have to get better at telling people nationally our story and understanding the true strength and value of this conference. And if that means from a marketing standpoint, a social standpoint, digital standpoint, we just need to keep finding ways to enhance our brand and tell our story. So that's a priority. I mean, it's a big priority for us going forward. And it's something we need to continue to get better at. The second, major piece, at least for me, again, hearkening back, is that over the next year and a half, 2 years, we've got to come to understand what our scheduling is going to look like. So that's inclusive of membership, and what our media rights are going to be, in 1 to 2 years, given the fact that Gonzaga is now departing, which is, a major loss for us, what our media rights are going to look like. Because that in and of itself will determine just how financially stable we can continue to be, which right now is in a really healthy place.
Go ahead, Theo.
Theo Lawson, Spokesman Review. With adding Seattle U next year, will you guys consider looking at a 20-game conference schedule, or are you pretty content with 18 for now?
The answer is yes to the latter. We're pretty content with 18, but again, that's an issue that will circulate through our governance system ongoing to get their view. But today, I think they're pretty comfortable with 18. Again, when we add new members, just to follow up, I mean, again, it would be back on the table.
Hey, Stu, question for you on conference challenges. Have there been discussions with leagues like the Mountain West, perhaps the AAC, others that are at this level, with the WCC getting a scheduling alliance? That way you can guarantee a couple of additional quad 1 or 2 games for the top of the league, at least in a structured way?
Yeah, I can't speak for those conferences, but I will tell you there have been discussions and with other conferences. And, it's my own personal view. Getting those scheduling alliances in basketball, and particularly for the WCC and other conferences like ours, is the only vehicle that we have to really stabilize realignment. Otherwise, we're going to continue to live in this world of adding members, losing members. But the advantage that a scheduling alliance affords you is that without actually merging conferences, it affords you the ability to strengthen schedules, strengthen resumes, and basically enhance each other's ability to access the NCAA tournament. So, while it's something that I would like to do, I have to think other conferences have to be entertaining that type of structure given the environment that we're in.
Yeah, and I don't want to harp on the realignment thing too much, but you're at 11.
No, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. 11 teams today. You're losing 3, you're gaining 1. Long term, just number. What's the ideal number for the league? What feels right? If you're talking to other schools, what number are you trying to get to? Is that?
Yeah, I'd love to get to 12, but again, that I don't want to imply that we would go out and get 3 all at once. I think it's really important for us, the WCC, I'm not speaking for other conferences, that we be very strategic about who we add. And, our presidents are adamant about adding basketball strength in members that we do add. We can't just add to add. They have to, bring value, and that value would be to do as best we can to remain a multi-bid league, which you can do 2 ways. Further investment of your existing members and or adding members that will also ensure that you're a multi-bid league, and we're going to take both avenues.
Right over there.
Yeah, you mentioned Gonzaga and St. Mary's both being two deserving tournament teams and both deserving of high seeds. I'm not sure if you're able to advocate for those two once you're a part of the committee, but what have they done to kind of command high seeds? And do you have a general idea of maybe where they should land on Selection Sunday?
Well, the last two I can't really answer in detail, but yeah, I would anticipate that they are invited to the tournament as at large teams, and I hope it's not premature to congratulate them. But in terms of where they're seated, that is based. It's fascinating and something that I love. It's based upon a variety of factors, but to their credit, their resumes and the body of work of both St. Mary's and Gonzaga is very favorable from a metric standpoint in any way that you cut it, whether it be, their neutral and away, performance, whether it be the way that they scheduled, which is another key factor. They've done their job, and now it's up to the committee to do their job and accurately, select them and seed them. As for me, I have no advocacy for them at all. It's actually quite funny in going through the simulation when, they are speaking about one of your institutions, whether you're an athletics director or a commissioner, they send you out of the room. And you realize it's happened many times before because there's a buzzer to buzz you back in the room. And when you return to the room, it's as if you've walked in on a conversation between people that are talking about you because no one says anything. So, I look forward to that, having that opportunity that they talk about, our two members or three if we're fortunate.
Again, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic over to you. We'll go ahead and take a question on Zoom. Justin Shaw with Las Vegas Magazine. Go ahead, Justin.
Hi, Stu. Gonzaga has traditionally brought thousands of fans to this tournament in Las Vegas every year. What does the conference plan to do in 2026 to keep those large crowds coming to the WCC Championship once Gonzaga leaves?
Well, the first thing to do is attack it before they leave. And we've done that, this season. We were very focused this year coming into the tournament, dating back to last summer, trying to come up with a proactive ticket sales plan in anticipation that, post BYU, and in anticipation when Gonzaga leaves. And while I'm not privy to the data right now, I do think our ticket sales, at least for this year's tournament, we may be in a position where we've increased sales over last year and have reached levels of 2 years ago. Now, that doesn't account for the loss of potential tickets of Gonzaga, but again, we've got a strategy in place that we'll continue to build upon so that when they do depart in 2026, we're at least positioned with a framework for, adding tickets and butts and seats.
Again, if you have a question here in the room, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone over to you. Last call for questions.
Don't all
Anyone?
go at once.
All right, how about on Zoom? All right, I think we're all set. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time.